So we're going to call this panic or patience for this team. And the first team that we have up is the Baltimore Ravens. Drew, are you panicking on the Ravens or do you have patience? And real quick, let me preface this. Only 32 teams since 1990 have ever made the playoffs since starting 0-2. So I know it's just week 2, but it does matter because only 32 teams have ever made the playoffs when starting 0-2. So are we panicking? Are we having patience with the Baltimore Ravens?
I'm not panicking. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I put Lamar in the doghouse, remember?
Yeah.
I'm pissed, but frankly, their division sucks.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Deshaun Watson is I don't want to go viral for the wrong reason, so I'm not going to talk about Deshaun Watson. Pittsburgh is, come on, bro. Justin Fields is, and the Bengals are 0-2. So to me, that division is wide open. The Ravens could still turn it around and do what they need to do. So I am not panicking on the Ravens yet. Not yet. The Raiders beat the Chiefs last year. Every year the Raiders have their Super Bowl in like week 7 of the season. This year it came a little early. Congratulations to the Raiders. I believe they're hosting a parade this week for that game. Only like 16 people are showing up, but it's a Super Bowl parade for the Raiders nonetheless.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm not worried about the Ravens yet.
I'm actually going to press the panic button a little bit on the Baltimore Ravens, and that's because of the play from Lamar Jackson. Also, they kind of have a little bit of a rough schedule ahead of them, and I'm worried about how many games they're really going to pull out of this. Obviously, they have the Cowboys next week, and we're going to go ahead and see how that one's going to go. We might, be talking about that later on. But again, I'm pressing panic on them because I'm not 100% sure on Lamar this year and what he's doing and the play calling. And again, the rough schedule ahead is kind of making me a little bit nervous for this Baltimore Ravens team. The other team in this division that's also 0-2 is the Cincinnati Bengals. And for me, I'm actually going to have patience with the Cincinnati Bengals, which is weird.
I'm glad we're complete opposites here.
So I'm going to have patience because they've been in this 0-2 spot before, and they have made the playoffs. They have done this. Yes, I know you should have concern about, the New England and losing against them. Yes, that they lose a lot of their week 1 schedules. I'm really not worried about that. A lot of the times, Jamar Chase maybe playing, maybe not playing, kind of saying, he's going to play right before the game even started. But they kind of have a cupcake schedule ahead of them. And I think if they can go ahead and pull out a bunch of wins right out in the next couple, like 4 to 5 weeks, I think it gets them right on track to take first place in that division potentially. So I'm going to have a little bit of patience with the Cincinnati Bengals because of their history of being winless in the beginning of the season, and again, their cupcake schedule. So apparently for Drew, you said that you're going to be pressing the panic button on them.
Oh, I slammed it down like the easy button. I don't believe in their running back. I think Zach Moss sucks. Joe Mixon is killing it for the Texans.
Yeah.
Good job, Bengals fans. Y'all got on my head for that one in the comments in the offseason. Yeah, real good job. T. Higgins is hurt. Jamar Chase is a non-factor. At least he didn't get paid yet. He's not a $30 million wide receiver like Brandon Ayuk is, but it doesn't look very good right now. And I'm not, Zach Taylor, his play calling sometimes is suspicious. Joe Burrow has these terrible performances sometimes, and for some reason he just escapes all criticism. Like, people want to talk about Lamar, people want to talk about Josh Allen, dudes that have gone out and won big time. And Joe Burrow just it's amazing how much equity just getting to a Super Bowl gets you. Because it's like the Bengals made the Super Bowl one time and lost, and they just have equity for a couple of years. It's just kind of weird.
You get a lot of leeway going into the next season. Absolutely.
And frankly, I believe in a 2-time MVP in Lamar and a coach of the year in John Harbaugh, Super Bowl winner. I believe in all that over I believe in Zach Taylor. So that's just kind of where I'm at on those two teams. And frankly, I'm picking the Ravens to be successful this year. So I need the Bengals to hit the panic button. That way my prediction comes true, because truly deep down, the only thing that matters to me in life is me being right. So that's all I really care about. I just want to be right.
What about the Indianapolis Colts? What do you think of them? Are you panicking, or are you having a little bit of patience with this team?
I'm not too worried about the Colts, because what was your expectation of this season anyway? It's Anthony Richardson's for all things considered, rookie season.
I think we only
and
had you and I both only had the Texans making it out of this division.
yeah, it's just one of those things where you want to see highlight throws like Anthony Richardson has made off his back foot. You want to see like that, stuff like that. Now, this loss that they had was absolutely terrible. I mean, you cannot lose to Malik Willis. You just absolutely can't.
Yeah,
but
and A-Rod looks bad. Yeah, Anthony Richardson looked bad.
And when we talked about their defense, like it was going to be pretty good this year, like something they could rely on. And then, oh damn, whoops, sorry, I clicked on the New Orleans Saints game. I was like, wow, that running back went off. Sorry, let me get over to the. Oh, my fault.
Stupid.
Josh Jacobs. See, I thought it was Kamara. 32 carries, bro. 32 carries for 151 yards. He did lose a fumble, but that's okay. Malik Willis, 12 for 14, 122 yards. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if they're going to continue to average 5 yards a carry and Malik Willis is not going to make mistakes, they are going to continue to be okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the Colts, so I apologize. Anthony Richardson, 17 of 34 with 3 interceptions. That's just absolutely horrendous and cannot be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
That cannot be allowed to continue.
When it comes to the Colts, I know there was a little bit of optimism coming into the season with a healthy Anthony Richardson, some weapons around him. Jonathan Taylor coming in with a full offseason with no weird contract dispute, weird things going on. But also the weapons that in Michael Pittman being re-signed, Alec Pierce, you draft A.D. Mitchell. And so a lot of optimism when it came around. The Colts defense, again, like you said, supposed to be pretty good. Kind of looking rough right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit the panic button on them just because there was a little bit of optimism coming into the season. And the upcoming schedules, they play some tough defenses. And if Anthony Richardson's going to look this bad against this defense, then maybe we should be looking at him very closely for this season and what happens going forward.
They got the Flacco-nator over there,
yeah,
so
that's true. That's true.
They gotta watch out.
Yeah, the quarterback carousel is going to be turning by the time week 14 ends up hitting. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars inside that same division, also 0-2. Not a lot of optimism when it came to the entire season, a little bit, but not really a whole lot. I'm going to press panic just because you just paid Trevor Lawrence and he does not look very good. We had a conversation already. Trevor Lawrence getting paid a lot of money for not really having a whole lot of success at all. He looks fine, but $55 million a year tells you a little bit more than fine. So he looks pretty rough up to this point, playing Miami and playing Cleveland. Cleveland does have a decent defense out there, but he doesn't look good. So is it more of panic on the team or panic on Trevor Lawrence? It's a little bit of both, but I'm definitely panicking a little bit on Trevor Lawrence because the performances so far up to this point after getting paid does not look good. So with the Jacksonville Jaguars, what are we doing here?
Could you imagine in that stadium, the owners of the Jaguars, Shad Khan, he has more money than anyone knows what to do with.
Right.
And then the Browns owner, who's meddlesome at best. Can you imagine them getting together and writing the game check for their 2 quarterbacks that they're paying Deshaun Watson? And
yeah,
I thought that you and I were going to have a conversation this year about Trevor Lawrence and him moving on to his next team. They decided to pay him. I think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
That whole draft class was an absolute mistake. Coming off that COVID year where there wasn't a lot of college football and a lot of scouting, it all just seems kind of,
strange.
Gabe Davis, 7 targets, only 3 catches. I mean, I know Brian Thomas had the huge play. That was cool. Travis Etienne, he just does not look like, how often do we see these change of pace backs take over the workload? And then it just doesn't have that.
Yeah.
We saw it with Tony Pollard. Everybody was like, give Tony Pollard the carry. Zeke sucks. Zeke's terrible. And then they gave it to him. Now, Tony Pollard did break his leg in the playoffs and then came back and didn't have a great year. But
yeah,
Travis Etienne was terrible down the stretch last year. His yards per carry were trash. All this stuff was trash.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, it doesn't look like he's able to shoulder the load. And some guy named Dearness Johnson got 5 carries for them on Sunday. I don't think that that's the answer. Now, don't get me wrong. Etienne had a touchdown. He had 4 yards per carry. He had a 20-yard scamper, but after his 20-yard scamper, that means that he had 12 carries for only 30 yards, and that's not great when you're trying to move the ball down the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the very last one that we have here is the LA Rams. Drew, this is the last one we have. We have some other 0-2 teams, but we're not going to cover them. Titans, Broncos, Giants, Panthers. Not a lot of expectation there. We're not going to cover them about panic or patience because who gives a fuck? But the LA Rams, what are we doing with them? Are we panicking or are we having a little bit of patience?
No, the Rams are in trouble.
I agree. I'm panicking for them as well.
They got the 49ers this week. The 49ers are like 8-point favorites in that game. I know that doesn't really matter, but clearly Vegas is out on them also. Then the next week they got the Bears, and Caleb's got to figure it out at some point, I imagine. And then they got Green Bay, and I think that's scheduled roughly to be around the time that Jordan Love's supposed to be back. And then luckily they go into their bye week and it kind of lightens up for them. They got Raiders, and then they got to go face the Sam Darnold Vikings. So if Puka is out for a couple of weeks and Cooper Kupp is out for a couple of weeks, we already saw what their offense looked like without having Puka Nacua on the field.
Yeah.
Right. There's no Aaron Donald. And what are we worried about on that offensive side of the football, especially against the 49ers defense, the Chicago Bear defense, the Green Bay defense that's been better this year. The Raiders defense is probably Max Crosby wreaking havoc. So Minnesota's defense is really good. Then you have Seattle's defense. It's looking pretty bleak for them. And I think I picked them originally to make the playoffs this year because I just thought Matthew Stafford, same guy really. Matt Stafford was just going to go crazy. And he just doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to. And he's old.
Absolutely.
He's getting up there. And, their backup sucks also. Some guy named Jimmy Garoppolo. So there's just not much going on down there right now. And I just think for a team that really wants to keep Sean McVay in the fold when, all these broadcasting networks keep offering him millions of dollars, it's going to be a tough season for them.
No, I'm right there with you when it comes to the panicking for them. And yeah, a big part of it is definitely the injuries piling up. It might not look good for the Rams heading forward, who did have a lot of big playoff aspirations heading into the season. So injuries, unfortunately, are part of the game, and it's something that completely can derail your season. And even just a couple of weeks having your superstars out can throw it off and you not make a playoff spot because it's very possible with another team emerging in the NFC like the Saints. It might be hard to make that wild card.